Welcome to Something to Wrestle With.
Welcome to Wrestle With.
Bruce Prichard.
Bruce Prichard.
Well, you know.
In the last Raw of February, Booker T actually wins a battle royal to determine who is going to get a title shot against Triple H at WrestleMania. It comes down to The Rock and Booker T, and I think most people assumed The Rock was going to actually win that, but surprise, surprise, Booker T gets the nod. You guys are sort of left to figure out what you're going to do here. Of course, Brock won the Royal Rumble, so Brock is going to go after Kurt Angle. We know that. Was there a hard and fast rule or a real plan for the other title for the Raw belt at this point? I mean, if you know that, hey, Brock's going to win the Royal Rumble, we're going to put, him and Kurt in the main event for the SmackDown title. Okay, we got to do something for Raw. Fuck it. Let's just do a battle royal on Raw. That feels sort of thrown together. Was it?
Kind of. And, when you look at the totality of the WrestleMania card itself, when you've got the return, you're going to have the return of Rock and Austin, the third match. That's an attraction in and of itself. Doesn't need a title involved in it. It's about pride at this point. When you're going to have Vince and Hulk, and within the company for us, and I was more on the SmackDown side during this period, it was all about crowning the new champion in Brock Lesnar. So, unfortunately, by default, the Raw World Champion was, I don't want to say a secondary concern. To me, it was, because I was SmackDown, but the cachet was frankly on the other matches. And so you want to do something to try and bring somebody up, and that being Booker T, and still feature that match as best you can. But there wasn't, unfortunately, that's just the way that the cards kind of fell.
Was there consideration ever, like before the matches went sideways, for Scott Steiner to be the guy in here at WrestleMania against Triple H?
No, because Vince didn't want to have that rematch. So no, to answer the question, no. At that point, there wasn't, because he had it at Royal Rumble. He didn't want to go that many times at WrestleMania. He wanted something fresh for WrestleMania.
So he didn't want a rematch for Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner's not even on the card. What did he want for Scott Steiner here, if not another match with Hunter?
At this point, he was not real happy with the Scott Steiner experiment and was looking to try and do something else with him and move him into a tag team.
I'm not asking at this point. I mean, originally, like, it does feel like we're sort of rushing a Triple H world title match with Booker T. It feels like Scott Steiner's left with really nothing to do. And you said that wasn't the plan ever. So the plan was just, let's beat Scott Steiner and then let his ass sit at home. And then let's make our other world title opponent just be decided by a battle royal.
At that point, yes, that is what it was. And it wasn't about just let the guy sit at home. You can't have everybody on the roster cannot be on, as much as we try. And sometimes there's just nothing creatively for them. And if you do something else, it's forcing them in there. And wanting to do something new, you're forced with that task of, okay, you've got to do something new. You don't have a lot of time. Make a battle royal, make a contender for the championship.
Whew. Sometimes you just want to be argumentative, man. Let's just move on.
No, I see that's what it's like. You guys can sit back 2020. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? There's a lot of extenuating circumstances.
I'm not asking
John Cena be a big part of this. We had deals in place for John Cena with the rappers to be a big part of WrestleMania. They dropped out. They agreed up front. You get into the promotion, you're going, knowing this is what you got. They drop out. You've moved on with other guys. Now there's no place for John Cena. Why wasn't John Cena on there?
No,
because
I get it.
Unfortunately, his shit didn't dropped out. Why wasn't Scott Steiner on there? Because there was not a place for him at that time.
I'm not arguing why he wasn't on it. I'm asking what the original plan was. And you said,
and I don't remember. I don't remember there even was an original plan for him.
So Booker T comes to the ring on the first Raw of March, and he's hyping up his WrestleMania title match. And then Triple H comes out, and this is where things get interesting. This is directly from the torch. Yeah, Booker is going to WrestleMania, but someone, quote, like you, end quote, doesn't get to be world champion. Triple H said, people like you don't get to be world champion. That's reserved for people like me. Triple H said Booker isn't here to be a competitor. He's here to be an entertainer. So Triple H asked for a little dance and for one of those spinneroonies and said, come on, Book, dance, entertain me. That's your job. You're here to make people laugh, and you're very good at it with your nappy hair and your suckers. Hell, I was laughing all week after you won that 20-man over-the-top battle royal. I'll laugh my ass off thinking about you challenging me for the World Heavyweight Championship. You see, Book, I understand that you've been the 5-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion. I get all that. But let's face it, that place was a joke, Book. And then he goes on to Rick and says, correct me if I'm wrong, Rick, but wasn't that the same time the other illustrious superstars such as David Arquette and some guy named Vince Russo was champ, right? Let's face it, Buck, you championshiped that place right into the ground. I'll give you this. You have your moments. Last week when you threw the Rock over the top rope, hell, that was a moment. But think about it for a sec. What does that give you? What do you get? You're going to get to go to WrestleMania. This is not some nickel and dime fly by night gig, Buck. This is the real deal. It's WrestleMania, the biggest show on earth, the Big Daddy. You're going to go and you're going to be in the main event and you're going to wrestle the greatest professional wrestler alive on the planet today. You're going to wrestle the game and you're going to step in with the end all be all of this business. And when you get there, you're going to do what people like you always do. You're going to lose. Of course, Booker takes issue with this and, he says somebody like me is going to ragtag your ass and beat you for the world championship. Of course, JR on commentary, putting over the baby face. Damn right, Booker. You got to believe, brother. And then Hunter says something like, good luck, Booker. You're going to need it. Oh, and another thing, good luck in your match with Scott Steiner. Good luck because with a guy like Scott Steiner, you might even be lucky to make it to WrestleMania. So people are going to form their own opinion about this promo, and Lord knows they already have. It's our most requested thing to talk about this week. Who wrote the dialogue?
I believe Brian Gertz wrote the promo. However, I think that, when you take it out of context and you go look at the entire promotion of what that match was about and what the whole angle was about, it was about someone from WCW that had held that championship 5 times before, thinking that they were worthy to headline a WWF WrestleMania. And that was the content, again, when you isolate one promo and a few lines out of one promo and the way it was delivered and the way you just delivered it, okay, it can be taken in a lot of ways. The way it was intended and the way it was written and the way that the whole angle was laid out was about Booker T being the standard bearer of WCW, because at that time, Booker was the biggest star to come out of WCW, 5-time world champion. And can you really think that you can hang in the main event of a WrestleMania? That was a storyline, and people like to pick out, this one promo and lines out of it and say, okay, delivered how they were. And granted, how they were delivered, you can take it a lot of ways, but the intent and the way that the angle was laid out was exactly as I just laid it out to you.
Let me just say before I shit all over it that I can defend some of this. Someone like you doesn't get to be world champion could not only be said to Booker T, but it could be said to Hurricane Helms, a white guy. Hurricane was a tremendous character, but he was there, quote unquote, to make people laugh. And you're very good at it. The way the Hurricane character was presented, it was supposed to be fun. That was the idea. And obviously Booker T coming out and doing the spinneroonie, it's supposed to be fun. I can get behind that. And I can even get behind people like you and not necessarily jump to, boy, that's some bullshit. However, when he throws in your nappy hair, pretty fucking hard for me to get behind.
Oh, and I don't get behind the nappy hair either. And, but you go fast forward or go backwards. Rock saying that was all okay.
Well, but you know why
but
that
again,
is.
I'm saying you're saying it because a white man saying it to a black man that's bad. And I'm saying that it's not good at all. So I'm not going to defend it. I'm just telling you what the angle and what it was. And people like to pick out, certain words. You want to pick out that one thing. But when you look at the overall scope of it, that was what the angle was about. Someone from WCW who had been a 5-time champion not being worthy of being in the WWE.
With his nappy hair.
Well, that's the one thing you want to pick on, and that's what you want to hang your hat on, then cool.
There is a section of fans. We're going to skip ahead here. Obviously, we're going to cover it in great detail. But there's a section of fans who think that this offensive bullshit, because that's really what I think it is. They think that, this would have been okay. I mean, not really, but it would have been less bad. Maybe that's the right way of saying it. If he'd have won. So if you're sort of burying him and, I'm not saying Hunter's a racist in real life. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this promo you could misconstrue, or maybe not even misconstrue.
And I'm not saying that you can't misconstrue it.
You could be led to believe, hey, they're going with a racist gimmick here. But the hope is at the end that the underdog, the babyface, the good guy, the guy who's being persecuted fucking overcomes and wins. And that doesn't happen. Do you believe that if some of this, some of the more questionable remarks here would have existed, but then Booker won the belt, that maybe it would still be a hot button for fans all these years later?
I think that it probably would have alleviated a lot of that had that happened.
Was that when Hunter is out here saying nappy hair and dance and make me laugh and people like you, at that moment, not 3 weeks after, but at that moment, was the plan for him to go out here, get the heat, and then he's going to drop the belt at WrestleMania? Or was the plan at this point already, all right, go out there and embarrass him and say some racist shit, and then we'll smash his ass at WrestleMania?
Well, no, first of all, the plan was always for Hunter to go over at WrestleMania. And that was always the plan from the initial get-go. But again, I love it when you sit there and you want to book everything and well, if everything's a happy end, then what? Then what do you do? And when you look at the whole picture and you try to book a card like WrestleMania, you've got to have your ebbs and flows. You got to have your peaks and valleys. And Vince was adamant from the very start. There was one major title that was going to change hands in his eyes that night, and that was Brock. We were crowning one guy, one new babyface, and that was it. And it was going to be Brock's night. And everybody knew that from the start. That was never, from time to time, it'd be brought up. What if? No, it's all we're going to do. We're crowning Brock that night. There was really no more debate beyond that. So it's easy to sit back and go, well, they should have done it. But no, when you talk about the overall story and you talk about the whole package and everything else that you have to do and everybody else on the card and all the other matches and all the other stories, no, that would not have been the best thing to do.
Well, I'm just saying it feels like it would have been a natural thing when you're saying, oh, you could give them a happy ending. That does feel like the formula for wrestling, but not with Triple H, because 6 months prior to this, he was fucking guys' dead girlfriends and corpses, and that sets up a pay-per-view match. And oh, by the way, he wins there too. So get your chapstick out, motherfucker. You can't defend this. The babyface should have won.
No, he shouldn't have won in the whole damn. No, he shouldn't have. He shouldn't have. Again, go out and buy a wrestling promotion and go out and promote it for 10 years. And with that logic, it won't last too.
I'll tell you this, if an indie promoter,
you have to have heels and baby faces. You have to have something for the baby face to overcome. And if you go in every big show, well, the baby face overcomes it, then you got to have them have something for them to fight for.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm not suggesting that the baby face has to always prevail.
You just said that's the formula and that's what we should do. Always have a happy ending.
No, I'm not saying that, but it is baby face territory. You've told us on that for this fucking show for 2 years. True or false?
That is true.
Okay. So, but not if the babyface has nappy hair, right?
No.
Okay.
I'm telling you that the end of the night for WrestleMania, that night, we wanted one guy to be the star, one guy for the big championship, that one big title change. That was to be Brock Lesnar. I'm
fine with that. I think my question is, in hindsight, can you just
so you're saying we made our decision on Booker's hair?
No, I'm saying if you knew he wasn't going to win, maybe you shouldn't have included that shit because it's not a good look.
I didn't include it. And again, that goes back to delivery sometimes. And it goes back to, if you look at the totality, not one promo, you look at the totality of the entire promotion. And I think you will find that we didn't focus on his nappy hair. That's one line out of one promo. When you look at the totality of everything that we did in that promotion, you will see it was about WCW and WWF.
Can you just say, hey, we fucked up. We shouldn't have had him say that.
Oh, dude, do I think he should have said that? I said that already. No, I thought it was bad. I don't think he should have said that. I don't think that was written for him. But I don't know that he didn't go to Booker and they said, hey, yeah, go ahead and do that. I don't know that. But I'm saying that I don't think it was good, but I also know it wasn't written that way, and that wasn't the intent, and that also isn't the way that the overall promotion was delivered.
Do you think WWE would ever veer into this territory again in 2018?
God, I would hope not.
Did you ever have
when you look back, there's a lot of things that were done that never should have been done.
Sure.
Tons. Doesn't, again, when you revisit it, revisionist history, yes, there's a shitload of that.
Do you remember there being any sort of comment from the locker room from guys like Ron Simmons or whoever who maybe had an opinion on this promo?
I don't know anybody that had an opinion on that specific promo that said anything, but I will tell you that there were times over the years that guys like a Ron Simmons or like Booker that would have said, hey, go ahead and go there. Again, trying to create natural, animosity and get people going, ooh, did they say that? Did they really just do that? And that was a different time in the business. And it doesn't make it right at all in any way, shape, or form.
Did you ever have a conversation? You're really, I guess we should say right now, full disclosure, Booker T is one of your best friends in real life. True or false?
Absolutely.
And he was our guest, out in our Las Vegas live show a couple of months ago. And we've got another one of your great friends who's going to join us tomorrow in Florida. But I know at different times you guys have to have conversations about the business. Did you ever talk to him about this brief feud or promo or match at WrestleMania or any of that with Hunter? Did that ever come up in y'all's quiet time?
Yeah, it has. I mean, we've talked a lot about, this exact, type of situation from, Vince saying the N-word on TV and me having to go to Booker and talk to him about it and Booker being cool with it. Yeah, go ahead, man. And, being cool with it. I think Booker's a realist and looks at it, and he's a very proud man that is willing to go out there and fight for everything that stands, that he stands for. And he stands for being a man, just first and foremost. And I never looked at, it's like I said to Booker one time, you're black? Really? He's a man. And that's all he is. And I go back to the antiquated way that the wrestling business used to be, where JYD leaves the Mid-South territory. And the answer to that is, I've got to get a black baby face. Wait a minute. Don't you just have to get a baby face? Mm-hmm. Why does it matter what color they are?
Right.
Well, because JYD was black and he was a big draw in Louisiana. No, JYD was just a draw. He drew whites, he drew blacks, he drew browns, he drew everything. He drew.
But in fairness, we hear that narrative as wrestling fans all the time that, hey, they really want to put Alberto Del Rio in a prominent spot because they're trying to get the Hispanic community. And maybe 10 years before that, it was Rey Mysterio, with the idea that if you have a Mexican star, you can attract a Mexican audience. There is truth to that, right?
It helps. It helps with the Hispanic audience if you speak their language. Yes. However, the stars that happened to be Hispanic, Eddie Guerrero drew everybody. Rey Mysterio draws everybody. Alberto draws everybody. That's the magic. They happen to be Hispanic. Use that. Use their bilingual, use their attraction, use their Hispanic heritage to bring the Hispanics that we may not have watching our product, that may only want to watch because they want somebody like themselves to root for. So, yes, that's been, that's marketing 101.